Hi friends, I am Uday Kandpal and I welcome you all to a fresh new lecture on NCERT Class 7 History Chapter 1 with Facts Elaboration by Uday Kandpal. So the name of the chapter is Tracing Changes Through a Thousand Years. So we will talk about the Middle India or the Medieval India, the 700 to 1750 AD. So let's start. Let's talk about cartography. What is cartography? Cartography is the study and practice of making maps. Combining science, aesthetics, and techniques, cartography builds on the premise that reality or an imagined reality can be modeled in ways that communicate spatial information effectively. The fundamental objectives of traditional cartography are to set the map's agenda and select traits of the objects to be mapped. This is the concern of map editing. Traits may be physical such as roads or land masses or may be abstract such as toponyms or political boundaries. Represent the terrain of mapped object or flat media. This is the concern of map projections. Eliminate the characteristics of the mapped object that are not relevant to the map's purpose. This is the concern of generalization. Reduce the complexity of characteristics that will be mapped. This is also the concern of generalization. Orchestrate the elements of map to best convey its message to its audience. This is the concern of map design. So these are the 5 points what are the fundamental objectives of the traditional cartography. Modern cartography constitutes many theoretical and practical foundation of geological information and geographic information science. There is a reference to maps in the chapter, like 1154 CE map by Arab geographer Al-Idrisi and map of India by French cartographer in 1720. It mentions Kannauj, and this map was used by European sailors on their voyages. So here are some of the maps created by Al-Idrisi, the Arab geographer, and the maps are taken from Wikipedia. So first is the Al-Idrisi map on Indian Ocean. You can see the blue funny kind of map. The second on the top is Al-Idrisi's map on the northern shoreline of Marmara region. Then third is Al-Idrisi's map on the Balkans. Then the fourth is Al-Idrisi maps on the Iberian Peninsula. Fifth is Al-Idrisi map of the modern day Azerbaijan and the Caspian Sea. You can see the ocean and the land and the routes. Then it is sixth is Al-Idrisi's map on the Balkans. Seventh is again the Al-Idrisi map on Iberian Peninsula, and last is the map of Senegal River according to Al-Idrisi. Now, this is a map of India according to European sailors. So you can see the India is there, Gujarat is also there like a U-shaped hook. You can see in India is not properly marked like the modern day maps, but yet the world map is accurate. You can see Arabia clearly, you can see the Africa clearly, you can even see the Persia clearly, and this and China. So China is not mapped correctly, but yeah, China is mapped very I mean in a very parallel areas to the India, but it's not correct, but yet it was an advanced technology at the time of European sailors. And the new and the old terminologies used and their meaning have changed over time. Medieval Persian is different from the modern Persian. The difference is not just with regards to grammar and vocabulary, the meanings of words have also changed over time. Hindustan we use today to mention India is in 13th century, as used by Minhaj-e-Siraj, a chronicler who wrote in Persian, meant the areas of Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between Ganga and Yamuna. By contrast, Babur used the term Hindustan to describe the geography, the fauna, and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. Today, we use the foreigner to mean a person who does not belong to our country. Earlier, a foreigner was a person who was an ajnabi or not known to the place, society, or culture. Historians and their sources. In medieval India chapters, we will study about a period roughly from 700 AD to 1750 AD. The historians rely on the coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual record of information. But there is also a contextual discontinuity in the source used by historians. The number and variety of textual record grew manifolds during this period. They slowly displaced types of valuable information and in this period, paper became a more cheaper and more widely available. People started using paper to write holy texts, chronicles of rulers, letters and teachings of saints, petitions and judicial records, and for registers and account of taxes. Manuscripts were collected by wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. They were placed in libraries and archives. There was no printing press in those days, so the scribes copied manuscripts by hand. As scribes copied manuscripts, they also introduced small changes like a word here and a sentence there. These small changes grew over centuries. Historians have read many versions of the same text to understand the actual meaning of the stories written. The 14th century chronicler Ziauddin Barani wrote his chronicles first in 1356 and another version 2 years later. The two differ from each other, but the first version was discovered not until the late 1960s. Inventions in ancient and medieval India: construction, civil engineering, and architecture, like Iron Pillar of Delhi, Chandragupta II, stepwell in the Indus Valley Civilization, stupa in 3rd century BCE India, squat toilet in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa from 3rd millennium BCE. In metrology, ruler made of ivory, Indus Valley Civilization, weighing scale in 2400 BC to 1800 BC. Incense clock, timekeeping device used to measure minutes, hours, or day. It was in 6th and 8th century CE. Then in metallurgy and manufacturing, crucible steel about 300 BC, although certainly by 200 BC in southern India. Wood steel, ultra high carbon steel, Chera dynasty exports. Celestial globe invented in India in between 1589 to 1590 CE. Tube drawn technology for glass bead manufacturing, which was first developed in 2nd century BCE. Tumble polishing 10th century BC for mass production and polished stone beads. Diamond drills in the 12th century BC or 7th century BC. According to some sources, India not only innovated use of diamond tip drills but also invented double diamond tip drills for bead manufacturing. Diamond cutting and polishing. The technology of cutting and polishing diamond was invented in India. Ratna Pariksha, a text dated to 6th century, talks about the diamond cutting, and Al-Biruni speaks about the method of using lead plate for diamond polishing in the 11th century CE. Then in science and technology, Plow was in Kalibangan. Indian ink, known in Asia since the 3rd millennium BCE and used in India since at least the 4th century BCE. Masi, an earlier ink in India, was a mixture of several chemical components. Toast syrup, used in India in as early as 500 BCE or perhaps 200 BCE. Then we can see the invention in the ancient and middle India games, chaturang or chess during the Gupta dynasty, Kabaddi in India during the period between 1500 and 400 BCE. Ludo or Pachisi originated in India in 6th century. Snake and ladders. Snake and ladders originated in India as a game based on morality. Suits game. The Krida Patram is an early suit game made of painted racks invented in India. The term Krida Patram literally means painted racks for playing paper. Playing cards first appeared in the East Asia during 9th century. The medieval Indian game of Ganjifa or playing card is first recorded in the 16th century. On cloth and metal production, ornamental buttons made of seashell were used in the Indus Valley Civilization for ornamental purposes by 2000 BCE. Calico had originated in the subcontinent by 11th century and found mention in the literature by the 12th century writer Hemchandra. Carding devices. The earliest evidences for using bow instruments for carding comes from India, 2nd century BC. These carding devices called the kaman and dhunuki would loosen the textures of the fiber by the means of vibrating string. Charak, spinning wheel invented in India between 500 and 100 and 1000 CE. Then for well-being, yoga. Yoga as a physical, mental and spiritual practice originated in ancient India. Meditation. The oldest documented evidence of the practice of meditation are wall arts in the Indian subcontinent from approximately 5000 to 3500 BCE, showing people seated in meditative postures with half closed eyes. So we also know that International Yoga Day is also celebrated, and this was started by or on the request of Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India. Mathematics. Zero symbol. Indians were first to use the zero as a symbol in arithmetic operations. Although Babylonians used zero to signify the absent, Aryabhatta gave the symbol zero, for which he became immortal. Quadratic equations. Indian mathematician Sridharacharya derived the quadratic formula used for solving quadratic equations. Algebraic abbreviations. The mathematics Brahmagupta had begun using the abbreviation for unknowns by 7th century. Raleigh's theorem. Bhaskara is credited with the knowledge of Raleigh's theorem, although it is named after Michael Raleigh, who described with insufficient proof and was later proved by Cauchy. Brahmagupta Fibonacci identity. Brahmagupta formula or Brahmagupta matrix or Brahmagupta theorem discovered by Indian mathematician Brahmagupta in 598 to 668 CE. Chakravala method. The Chakravala method, a cyclic algorithm to solve indeterminate quadratic equation, is commonly attributed to Bhaskara 21114 to 21185 CE. Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem, which is believed to be given by a mathematician known as Pythagoras, is actually wrong. It was a long ago given by sage Bodhyana in his book Fibonacci numbers. This sequence was first described by Virahanka in 700 VC CE. In 700 CE, Gopala in CE 1135, and Hemchandra 1150 as an outgrowth of the earlier writings of the Sanskrit prosody by Pingal. Madhav series, the infinite series for pi and for the trigonometric sine, cosine, and arctangent is now attributed to Madhava for Sangam Gram 1340 to 1425 and his Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics. Pascal's triangle, described in the 6th century CE by Varahamihir. Trigonometric functions, the trigonometric sine versine originated in Indian astronomy, adopted from the full chord Greek versions to the modern half chord versions. They were described in detail by Aryabhatta in later 5th century, but was likely developed earlier in Siddhanta's astronomical treatise of the 3rd or the 4th century. Formal systems. Panini is credited with the creation of the first formal system in the world. We have also studied about Panini, who have created a grammar for Sanskrit. New social and political groups, 700 to 1750 AD. New foods and beverages arrived in the subcontinent: potato, corn, chilies, tea, and coffee. This was also a period of great mobility. People started traveling in search of opportunity. Throughout this period, there was a gradual clearing of forests and extensive agriculture. Change in habitat forced many forest dwellers to migrate. People were grouped into jatis or subcastes or ranks based on backgrounds and occupation. Jatis framed their own rules and regulations. Many land boundaries changed. British historians divided India into Hindu, Muslim, and British regions or era. So hope you like my lecture and hope you learn a lot for your competitive exam. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.